Hey, business building warrior, it's your buddy Jim. And on today's episode, we are going to meet Miss Jackie Bloom. She recently left a corporate career that had an hour and a half commute each way. She was in her career field of choice. She loves graphic art, graphic design, that she's going to share with us. And she had a great job, but she was getting burnt out. Actually felt even a little hopeless, she tells us today, about her future, mainly because she was away from her family so much and she didn't like that. And she wanted to be home doing something. To make a long story short, she jumped into Amazon using the Repricers model that we teach around here. Her business is taking off. And like I said, she's just a few months into the journey. But based on your requests, we've heard from many people who have said they listen to the show, but they want to hear from some people who are still kind of in the weeds a little bit, trying to figure this thing out a little bit, not necessarily all these big success stories all the time where it sounds like people have it all figured out. Trust me, none of us have it all figured out. But today we're going to meet Jackie, and she's still figuring the game out. Although the best math that we did, she put about $4,000 in the bank, and she has a lot of great inventory sitting at Amazon right now that's selling very, very well for her. And she's finding as much of it as she wants. The challenge for her is just getting it sent in fast enough. Because everything she's finding now, thanks to the systems that we've taught her, is profitable. She knows how to find that profitable inventory, and she's finding it everywhere. She's going to tell you how, and she's going to share her story. I love her energy and her passion for this business, and I love her big why. You'll hear me talk a little bit in this episode today about the why of your business. And for me, a big enough why is, hey, I want to be home with my family. It doesn't have to be, am I passionate about this business model? Am I super interested in the product that I'm selling? Don't get caught in that trap. That's just not necessary. You can pursue your passions and your hobbies and your interests with all the free time you have once you've got a great, stable, growing income from a business. And you'll be passionate about that business, but you don't have to be passionate about every product you're selling. It's just not necessary. You're serving customers well, as evidenced by them paying money for the products you sell. Be passionate about serving well, and be passionate about your bigger why, which in this case for Jackie is her family, and being there with them, and seeing her little girls grow up and being there with her husband as all this is happening. So I love it. We had a good episode today. I think you're really going to enjoy Jackie and her raw green story. She doesn't know all the answers yet. So we do a little coaching along the way even, but I think you're really going to have some fun with it. And as always, all the links that we talk about today, the provenamazoncourse.com course, that's a course that Jackie used. She jumped into the Replens module of that course. There's going to be links to all of that. We talked about it on the show today. Just go to the show notes at silentjim.com. Look for today's episode. Look in the notes. There's all the links. So you don't have to write down anything furiously. Okay. Let's jump over and get Jackie on the line right now. You're going to love this. So Jackie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
Great to have you.
This is so exciting.
So we've never spoken before. But you left us a little message on Facebook, and the conversation started from there. And I said, hey, how about you jump on the show? So let's hear your story. Let's take it away. The floor is yours.
Okay. I couldn't believe that you asked me of all people. There's so many people out in this community to be on the show. It's such an honor. And I've heard so many people say before, it's like feel like I've made it now that I'm on this show. And I know it's hard for you to believe, but I really do feel that way. It was kind of like a first, one of the first goals of mine. Like one day I'm going to be on that show, just like other people. I just did
I'm glad
not
it's validated for you. It's going to motivate others too. And it validates for me too. Like, the stuff we're doing around here is actually having an impact. So it's every bit as validating for me as it is for you. Trust me.
I hope so, because I just didn't quite imagine it would happen so quickly. And that's, I think that's the beauty of this model in a way, because it allowed me to get to a point where I never felt and thought didn't imagine that it would happen this way so quickly, but it actually did.
So let's start at the beginning. Like, what were you doing before you got on Amazon, and, get us up to speed on your story? Because I really know nothing except that brief conversation we had.
Yeah, it was very, very brief. So I come from a creative background. I went to art school. And I studied graphic design, and I had, right out of school, I had great jobs in the corporate world. I worked in magazines as a designer. I was an art director, a senior art director, and I worked my way up pretty quickly. And looking back, that's been like 20 years now, right? Of this art director, creative career, and I got to the creative director and I achieved that. And I was burning out so quickly. Like I said, I worked in magazines, I worked in women's retail, designing catalogs and emails and all sorts of things. And it was great. But I was also commuting in the end for like 3 hours a day.
Wow. Hour and a half each way, 3 hours.
An hour and a half each way.
Wow.
And
what part of the country do you live in?
So I live in Long Island, New York, and I was commuting to Manhattan an hour and a half every day. I would leave my house at 7:15 in the morning and I would come home after 7:30 at night.
So that's trains and subways kind of commute?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Trains and subways. And, I have two girls at home. I have a husband and two young girls, and I hated being away from the house for so long. There was a time when we had, a live-in nanny for a while because I had this career and that was the only way to make things work. And I didn't love that.
How long ago did you start getting that? I want to hear how old your girls are and how long ago you started getting that tug away from what was probably at some point was your dream job.
Yeah, absolutely. My dream. I mean, I went to art school. My parents, bless their hearts, sent me to art school. We're probably thinking like, what was she going to do with that? But it was, listen, that's a great career. But my girls are 8 and my youngest is 8 and my oldest is going to be 13 next month.
Gotcha.
And my youngest is 8. And I started getting that tug, early on. They were little. I started getting that tug. We moved out into the suburbs when I was pregnant with my youngest. And I started getting that tug, like, I can't do this forever. I would ride the train and look at all the people around me and think, how can I do this for another 30, 40 years? I can't. I don't have this in me. And I was also telling my oldest daughter at the time, don't go into a career that makes you work in one place, like a city, like Manhattan, because I'm stuck. I always felt like I was stuck and this is it. This is what I went to school for and it's over for me. And I don't have any other hope other than commuting and wasting my life away on a train.
Man, I've heard that's been a theme lately. Not that there's any scientific data behind what I'm saying here, but I've heard that from a good handful of especially moms lately that are succeeding with the Amazon model. And when they're allowed to be transparent, they say, man, I was kind of losing hope. One of them great career, making great money.
Yeah.
Their heart wasn't there anymore. It's what they went to school for, but their heart wasn't there anymore. Their heart was at home under the roof, with their family nearby, but they still wanted to be able to provide financially and contribute financially. And that's beautiful. That's what this model is so beautiful. Internet-based income, not specifically Amazon. That's what we're going to talk about today, but there's just so many different ways to creatively make money from home.
You talk about bringing dads home a lot, but you brought this mom home. Oh my God, I get so teary-eyed. I'm very emotional about it.
I don't know what that feels like. That's why I'm so passionate about bringing dads home, because I know what that feels like. I don't know what it feels like to be a mom that gets to be home now. I mean, I can kind of understand it. My wife explained it to me, and I see the difference in our family and our kids for sure. As a result of that, my wife came to me, it's been over 20 plus years ago, and said, you know what? She was the smart one. She graduated magna cum laude, top of her class, and I graduated thank the Lord, right? So we're thinking, she's the one that should be out there doing, we were young and maybe didn't know how the world actually worked yet, but like, hey, you're the smart one. Go get a good job. I'll watch the kids do some stuff from home. But she came home and said, okay, I'm done. I want to be home. Take care of your family. And part of me, you thought I'd be like, oh no, that's scary. No, I was like thrilled. I was like, yes, I can't wait. Let's do this. Right.
Yeah. I only wish that I could have done this earlier, because again, like I said, I felt like I was stuck. I was, the great career and I worked so hard to get to where I was.
Yeah.
And I felt stuck. Like, this is it. This is what I have to endure for how many years.
Did you seek advice from anyone, friends, family about that? And like, what would they tell you? I'm just curious. I know that's kind of an on the spot question, but Are we
No,
just
I
internally kind of processing through this?
internally processing it. I didn't seek advice about it. I just didn't think that there was any other solution
Right.
because
Because a lot
when
of
your
people tell you you're crazy. You're crazy. This is what you went to school for. This is your
yeah,
dream.
and I
This
thought
is
that too.
supposedly your passion, right?
Absolutely. And it's still like I loved it for so long. I loved what I did, but I didn't
And why
realize
not
how it was
continue from
killing me.
home?
So I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. And that's like such an easy answer now. So what brought me here is in July, I lost my job, July of 2019.
Mm.
And after I got over the initial shock of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I felt free all of a sudden. And it was summer and I enjoyed my summer. My kids were, in camp only a couple of days a week because of, COVID, but we still sent for camp a couple of days a week. And I got myself a beach pass and I hung out. I had a great summer.
Good for you, Mom. So
In
that's about
August,
18 months ago.
yeah.
So that was
No,
about
not even. It was like 6 months ago.
Oh, I think it's 2019. 2020?
Sorry, 2020.
There we go.
2020.
So 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned COVID. That makes sense now. Okay. So about 6 months ago, you had a fun COVID summer with your kids.
I did. And we got a puppy in August. So we had a new baby in the house. And I just hung out. And then I started going through the motions of, okay, well, I really got to start looking for a job now. And I applied to new jobs, job listings in my field. I wasn't so jazzed about any of them. And I started realizing, well, maybe I'm not jazzed about them because it's time for a change. And I said to myself, I'm never going to commute into the city again. I know that. I don't want to kill myself anymore. Because I was, when COVID brought everybody home and I was working from home, we were working more than ever before. And that's probably common in a lot of corporate jobs, but I, like a lot of people, I was working all hours in the night. I was killing myself. And it had a terrible effect on myself and my family.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I lost my job that I realized how bad it was. Because then I felt like I got myself back.
You had something to contrast it with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It feels like you're breathing different air almost, doesn't it? When your life is in the right place.
Oh, like it was evident immediately. I was a totally different person. Yeah. I was a totally different person without the pressure of that job. That was slowly killing me.
And I love episodes like this.
I went through the motions of like trying to find a new career. I was like, should I go to vet school? Should I be a dog groomer? Should I be the next Bob Vila? Because I was interested in, contracting. Like I went through and then I was like, I'll just work at Home Depot. I don't care. I'll be a nanny. I'm not going back to that job, that lifestyle anymore. You can't put me on a train. And again, the thought of interviewing for other positions in my field was not something I was excited about anymore.
Sure.
And then there was one day in late September, my husband, he's a paramedic in New York City, and he has always bought and sold vinyl online records. And we both have. I've had an eBay account forever. I actually had an Amazon selling account a good 10, 15 years ago that when I went to go try to sell stuff now was deactivated.
Right.
So we, we're not strangers to selling things online. And so he had a customer come to buy records from him. And this guy started talking about something he was selling that he bought at the supermarket and how much he was flipping it on Amazon. And I couldn't believe I was talking about how much people were paying for this an item, and I couldn't believe it. And that got the wheels rolling. And I was like, well, this sounds like something I could do. This is exciting. And I was like, well, if this guy can do it, why can't I do it? So I walked away from that conversation going, and it just the timing was right. It was like sort of my wheels had been spinning about what am I going to do next? And then this guy comes along and reminds me about selling on Amazon. And I had actually come across the term Amazon FBA a good 2 years ago.
Sure.
And didn't really know exactly what it was, but I had heard about it. It was a familiar term. So that evening I looked into it, and where did I go? To the place where everybody learns everything. I went to YouTube. And I watched a few videos on selling Amazon FBA. And one of those sellers, and I was looking for, it was at this point, it was like now late at night. I had done all this YouTube research and it was late at night and I like to fall asleep to podcasts. So I thought, okay, let me find a podcast to listen to about Amazon FBA. And one of the YouTubers had a list of podcasts and one of them was yours. And I checked it out. And seriously, I'm not like a religious person or anything, but it was, I gotta say, by the grace of God sort of thing, it brought me to Silent Jim. And I looked up your podcast and the first episode I listened to, I looked it up. It was episode number 310 with Jimmy talking to Kate Chaddick, and it was on small group mentoring.
Wow.
And they were talking about the Repricers model, and that spoke to me. I was like, this sounds viable. This sounds like something that is sustainable. And if all these people have success stories, why can't I do it? And again, if this guy that showed up at my house can make a living doing this, why can't I? It's not like all these people are making this up just to sell stuff to me, you know?
Right.
So I got into it. I planned to fall asleep to that podcast, but I didn't. I couldn't sleep that night. So I usually research to the death everything that I do.
Okay.
I didn't this time. It was something, I don't know what it was. It was just, I had a good feeling about it. So I'll either research something to the death, or if I have a good feeling about something, I just go for it. And there was something about it that I thought, okay, let me just try this. And it was midnight and I bought the standalone Replens course. And I didn't go to sleep till about 3 a.m. I was just watching it on my phone, in bed. Like I thought, oh, I'll just fall asleep to it. Well, that did not happen. And the next morning I got up and I said to my husband, I think I found something that I want to try. And, Jim, this is the key. You've talked about this a lot. My partner, my husband said, go for it. He said, I'm behind you, give it a shot. Because I thought, what do I have to lose? I could sit here. It was October. I could be applying for jobs that I don't really care about. And in 6 to 8 months, I could still be unemployed and miserable, or I could be unemployed and miserable, but also have built something.
That's awesome. There's so much emotion in your story. You're very passionate about this.
Oh, I am. I'm tearing up as I say it. I get very emotional about things that I care a lot about. So that'll happen.
It's a chance for me to express, people say, well, what's your why? What's your why? And for me, I get to do what you just described. I've been doing it for, 18 plus years now. I'm home with my family. I'm earning a good income, doing something I enjoy. Am I passionate about selling random products to strangers? Not really. Although I'm very passionate about the opportunity it represents.
Yeah.
And I see you've kind of made that transition from what am I passionate about to how can I be there for my family? Let's make that my core why, my core passion. And what I do in work and serving others, as long as it's valid, I can get very passionate about that as long as it's providing that freedom my family needs. I'll get passionate about that. And so that's the way I've been processing this lately, because nothing against the people that say, hey, find your passion and find a way to pursue and make that and monetize it. That's great. Go for it. But that content's not really for me, because right now I see the world has shifted. People are shopping online unlike ever before. And like that guy that came to your house with the vinyl records was saying like, hey, I'm buying stuff off the store shelf and flipping it for 40% profit margin. Like if that allows you to stay home and then do what you're passionate about, that art thing is going to come back to you at some point. And you're going to dip your toe in and you'll be able to explore it without worrying about whether it's making you a profit or not, because you got this great business, right? So pursue your passion, but pay the bills with something that's exciting and available and viable. So that's how I'm processing through this. But I love the emotion of your story. It's still very raw, because there will be a point in time where this will become kind of your family's routine. It's just kind of normal. But right now it's new enough that there's a lot of raw emotion in this. And I think this is one of those episodes where if people are just listening, they probably need to check out the YouTube version too, because you can just see that.
Oh no.
Like I could make you the official spokesperson for the course right now. It's just
oh my God.
so much genuine emotion.
I almost didn't want to do the YouTube. I thought, I'm just going to do audio only because I was so shy about it. But again, it's about stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And I thought,
good for you.
Okay,
yeah, and leadership, which you're a leader, you've led, you've been in the corporate environment, you understand leadership. Using your mouth is a key step of leadership, and putting your face out there and your name out there and your voice out there. There's a risk associated with that, and people are going to misunderstand you, and people are going to twist what you said. But that's leading. That's the game.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people, it's going to resonate. You could have a huge following of women who want to kind of step out of their career that they kind of feel burnt out on, and they want to do something from home and what is out there. And you could be their spokesperson. Why not?
Oh, that's
right?
so exciting. If I could influence one mom to do what I did, I would say go for it, because
you can influence so many more than that.
It's still so scary, because I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know. I'm the first person to say I don't have all the answers, but I do know I'm doing something right. I've figured it out. I've picked it up kind of quickly, and it's not that hard.
No, it's really not. It's a matter of, do you want to ride this paradigm shift in the way consumers behave? It really is.
Yeah.
People are staying home and shopping, but the store shelves are still being stocked heavily as ever.
Yeah, it wasn't
going to the store as much as they used to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a question in my mind if this could work. Like, I know that this can work. I see the success that others have. It was just like, can I do it? And one of the things that has helped me and still helps me that I keep going back to, and you talk about this all the time on your podcast, is mindset. And that's where I started. I started from a place where failure in this for me is not an option. And it's because of my why. My why is so strong that I want to be here with my family. I want this to work. So I'm going to work as hard as I can to make this work.
Good for you.
There isn't another option for me right now. And the passion did come for it. Oh my God. Like, I sell the weirdest stuff on Amazon, and it doesn't matter because I love it. And just the other day I was sourcing something. My mother-in-law called me and she said, "What are you doing? Are you out shopping?" Because she knows I'm always out shopping. And I said, "Well, I'm just shopping from home this time. I'm buying some stuff." And she's like, "Well," and I said something, specific I was looking for. And she said, "But don't you have to know about this? There's all these different types of, this item." And I said, "No, all I have to know is how many times does it sell a month? Does it sell and does it make me a profit?" And she asked again, "Are you, but there's this kind and this kind." I said, "No, really. All I need to know is how many times a month does it sell? Does it make me a profit?" Yeah. And I'm done. You're
buying barcodes. You're buying UPC symbols, right? You're flipping them. What's on the other side of that UPC barcode doesn't really matter. It's how much does it weigh? And can I reasonably send it into Amazon? Is it going to expire anytime soon? Those are the kind of decisions, not how much do I understand this product?
Yeah. And I that brings me into the next point I wanted to make, is that I thought, and I've heard you say this before, don't start in a section where, so I do the replens model. And what is the replens model? The replens model is things that you can source locally, that you can buy at regular price over and over and over, that people want to buy over and over and over.
Beautiful. Only word I'd add is easily. Locally or easily, yes. Online.
Easily source, yes.
Right. And you're not bargain hunting. You're not hitting the closeout aisle or the discount aisle, although there's sometimes some interesting things there. You tend to just kind of fly past those aisles because it's not going to be the same product available next time you go to that store.
Right. And I started... The first time I went out sourcing, I started in the clearance aisle, and I want to speak to the new sellers specifically. I know, because I thought I didn't have a big budget. Didn't have a job. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, but just save yourself some time and skip the clearance aisle. It's not worth it, because it's not going to sustain a business for you.
Yeah, that model maxes out if you're doing it right. Let's say you've got 30 Walmarts in your driving area and you hit all of them as often as you can and clear everything you can out of those. Still, you're talking about a $40,000 or $50,000 a year income, hustling hard and selling different stuff constantly. And you never know what you're going to get. You're going to have those days where you go out and come back with nothing. And those are very disheartening days.
Yeah.
But with replens, that never happens.
Yeah, and you're spending more time just looking up that item and seeing if you could sell it. And so many times I was just restricted in that category because you get every category there. It's just like, it wasn't even worth my time. And I realized that later.
It can be a total waste of time. Yeah. I almost feel sorry for the people that I see with their scanners in that aisle, scanning barcodes in the clearance aisle. Like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work, you poor thing. Try replens.
Yeah. And also another thing is I knew what the rules were. The rules are not to scan. And I still scanned in the beginning. I scanned for weeks because it was just, in mixed in with the typing in, but it was just faster to scan. And the one way that scanning first place helped me was to find out if I was restricted in that category or that brand. Did you lose me again?
Just for a second, there was a little pause there, but I follow what you said. You said the one time you scan is if you want to check to see if you're qualified to sell that brand or not, right? You can quickly determine, just scan any barcode for that brand and see if Amazon will let you sell it or not, right?
Yeah. So so stop there with the scanning barcodes, but and in the beginning I would scan and find things, and I can't tell you how many times that I've come home with, I remember my first shopping trip, I came home with like 20 or so items, and I must have returned 15 of them because when I got home, I realized they're not as profitable as I thought they were, or Amazon is also on the listing. So I've done my share of returns and spending a lot of time returning things. So what I learned quickly is that retail arbitrage, as in standing in the aisle and scanning things, even if you're typing in what the item is and finding listings, is not as great of an option for me because I'm not the type of person who wants to stand in an aisle for 30 minutes to 4 hours. It's not fun. So I take pictures and I go home and I research things at home. But in the beginning, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to do that effectively. There was a video that I found I'm a member of the Replens group on Facebook.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes for everybody. Let me just explain there real quick because people are going to ask, if you own the Proven Amazon course or the Replens module by itself, that's part of the Proven Amazon course. If you own either one of those, you can join our $9 a month private Facebook group where we discuss Replens strategies. And that's what Jackie's describing now in the private Facebook group. Yeah, go ahead.
So I opened my seller account in October. October 1st was when it opened of 2020. It wasn't until late October that I discovered all these modules within that Facebook group. There's all these videos. There's a wealth of stuff. It's not just discussion between members. There's videos that teach you more stuff that's not just in the Replens course. And it was great. And just discovering that unlocked so much for me. There was one video in particular, and I tried to find it before this conversation, Jim, but it might have been taken down. But it was an episode with Brian Davis, and he went through online arbitrage. They went through how he sources online. And it was like, just like would do it in a store. So in a store, if you take a picture of the aisle and you start from the top left corner and you go item by item, in his online arbitrage, he goes item by item in each category online. And there was something about it. They also gave you a spreadsheet to use. And in that spreadsheet, you plug in the numbers, and they showed you where to get those numbers. And as a new seller, I didn't know anything about this stuff. And that helped me figure out my ROI quickly and helped speed things up for me and figure out if that was going to be a viable option for me. So now if I don't do that at home, I don't know for sure if it's going to be a great replen for me.
So you're finding most of your replens while you're at home now.
Now, yeah. And even still, as we talk about this a lot on the podcast, that all of a sudden there's going to be this moment where something unlocks for you and you see replens everywhere. And wow, that actually happened. It's true. It
It
does
does.
happen. You have to
Yeah.
stick with it, right? And that's the mindfulness part of it. That's just the stick to itness
Mhm.
part. And it does actually happen. And, but even still, even though I know what I'm doing, when I know what I'm searching for, I still return things. I still find a whole bunch of replens in the store. And then I get home and I realize, whoops, there's one detail or something that's off. Or usually it's Amazon is on the listing. And I haven't spent my time doing my due diligence in the store, checking the Amazon app and not just the seller app, to find the profitability. Because I want to move quickly. I don't want to sit in the store for hours.
Right. But you're still honing your process. I mean, you're very green. You're very new at this, which I love.
Yeah.
You're still stubbing your toe and bumping your head in ways that you won't be 6 months from now. But these are valuable episodes. And one of the things that I've heard from the community
Yeah.
is share with us more of the challenges that people have early on. And I'm telling you, 6 months from now, you will basically have forgotten some of these lessons because it'll just be so routine for you. So I love that
Hmm.
you're sharing. Yeah, if you don't do your research right, you're going to end up back
Yeah.
at that same Walmart, and they're like, "You're back again with more returns."
Yeah. And they're like, what's
Like
wrong
you're
with
hoping
this
it's a new
item?
lady working the return desk today versus the guy you had last time, right?
Totally. They'll be like, why is anything wrong with this item? And I go, oh no, my kids just didn't like this flavor.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, crazy lady bought 12 of them.
Oh, yeah, you could
Okay.
just say, Amazon sells on this ASIN. The ROI is terrible. I'm like, okay, I never heard that one before.
I know. Yeah, I could try that next time. So yeah, like some things that I use a lot of so I use a lot of spreadsheets. I've stubbed my toe in just having to start new spreadsheets. Like I'll watch a course, discover the spreadsheet that you guys have shared, which is every time it's just spreadsheet gold because I went to art school. Again, I don't know how to make my own spreadsheets, but I'm learning how to work the numbers and I'm learning how to read ROI and all these things and just filling these things out and making it more efficient for myself. So just little things like putting a tab for each, like in the beginning, I would just list everything that I found. And then I would start, okay, let me just separate it by store. Duh. And like for each store, I have a different spreadsheet. And now I've gone into the part of like just organizing my spreadsheet by the aisles in the store, which helps me replenish my items. So dry goods or canned goods or condiments, drinks, things like that. So
Very good.
so that
Yeah.
that just helped me a lot.
And this is still a fairly young business model. I say that for two reasons. One, everybody and anybody that wants to get into this still can. There's saturation is comical. The number of listings we're on where we are literally the only FBA seller, and the product is something that anybody could go buy right now at any number of retail stores, and we're the only FBA seller. It's crazy. So the opportunity is huge. But the other reason I say that, Jackie, is because the tools that are being developed right now, the systems and the processes, the software, it's kind of a clunky machine right now that's wildly profitable for those who jump in and use it. But you got to get, you need your Keepa, you need your spreadsheet, kind of tweak it to your own needs. It's kind of being patched together. There's some great tools coming that, and some great opportunities coming associated with it. As really smart people kind of shave off the rough edges of this thing, people smarter than me for sure,
I
and
know.
some automated tools and some great things coming. It's going to be a constantly evolving, improving process. But
Sometimes I wish I was one of those smart people that could make that software and make a ton of money on
you
that.
can see why we need so many nerds in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like if they could just make it do this,
Yeah.
right?
But again, as a new seller, I'm still hesitant about what else I paid for.
Sure.
I paid for a repricer that helped a lot. And that's just recent. That's just in the past month that I have a repricer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big leap for me to take. But once I took it, I realized the value in it. And that also taught me, and I think you recently posted about this in the My Silent Team Facebook group about not penny undercutting your prices, and also that you could still be in the buy box, even if you're 5% above that
Or
price.
even 10% or more at times, but 5% is very safe. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that you
and
brought that up. It's a bit of a soapbox for me. You don't want to ever be the lowest FBA seller on any product. Now, if you're the only FBA seller, have some fun, play around, you know, see how consumers behave based on your price. But don't be the lowest FBA seller. Don't underprice another FBA seller by 1 penny, please. And you can hear all the experienced sellers out there cheering right now, and their cars are pulling over, honking their horns, because it's just not necessary. It doesn't give you any advantage. It just potentially starts that race to the bottom in the repricers, which is a sad thing to see. You got, if you just imagine 5 guys who've all set their repricer to go 1 penny lower than the next guy.
Yeah.
And all the repricers sit there and work overtime, and you wake up the next day and everybody's at the lowest possible price. So don't do that. You get the buy box just as often, like Jackie just said, if you stay within 5 to 10% of the next lowest FBA seller. You're going to rotate through and get the buy box. Experiment with it. You'll see that it's true. Now, Amazon doesn't share the exact algorithm that drives their buy box, but enough of us have done enough testing over time to be able to say with a great deal of confidence, if you're within 5% above that next lowest FBA seller, you're going to get the buy box just as much as that lower priced seller does. And we can all kind of stay in that happy territory of sharing the buy box that way without tanking the price down to where no one's making money.
Yeah, definitely. I had no idea. And it also brings, one of the first ASINs I sold, I remember my first sale was October 16th, and it was a merchant fulfilled item. And I didn't realize until I sold about 20 of these things that I lost money on probably every sale, because the shipping part of this whole thing confuses me. So I don't do shipping templates. I would love if there was a course or something that explained the in and outs of the shipping templates, or even the in and outs of using Seller Central, because there's parts of that still confuse me. But that's another story. I'm still learning
these things over time. Are you doing mainly FBA, or are you doing
mainly FBA? And in the beginning, so I started right in Q4, and there was a lot to learn there. It was really exciting to start in Q4, because I was like, well, I'm definitely going to get sales because everybody's shopping now. This is a great time to start. But also there was the draw of the holiday items, and I thought, wow, maybe I should really get into this. But I knew that I was too late for FBA on holiday items. Mm-hmm. So I went out to my local stores and I sourced some merchant fulfilled holiday items. And I spent the bulk of November and December sort of neglecting my regular replens a little bit and doing these seasonal replen items. Listen, I found a couple killer ASINs that had me shipping till all hours of the night. I remember in November, I had like a $1,600 day, and I was so excited. I filled one of those mail trucks, those big bins outside. That was so exciting. I was like, wow, I really made it. But, I attribute to the early success of my business in November and December, that was holiday. That was the effects of holiday.
Right.
And, even though I still found replens, they were but they were holiday replens. And so I did well those months, but I've spent most of my time running from store to store, trying to find all these items to get as many as I could.
Sure.
To do merchant fulfill on them.
The pace of chasing those spikes it's draining. It's not a sustainable, year-round, predictable, right? You can't really hire somebody to go out and find a bunch of Christmas ASINs that are going to be really hot in October, and that's just hard to do. But you can hire people to go shop your replen list at the point you're ready to scale. There's just so much more stability there. And we've heard from many replen sellers, their January was bigger than their December.
Yeah, that's where I was. My January was bigger than my December.
Yeah, even though you spent all that time chasing the hot holiday stuff, your January was bigger. And I didn't know that about your story, but we hear it from a lot of sellers.
And that was because in January, I went back to my regular replen list. Mm-hmm. I beefed it up. I found new replens, and I sent in more units weekly. I would just send in as many as I could handle. Now, again, this is just me. I thought that I would have a 12-year-old little helper. I don't. She's 12. That's the reality of it. She does not want to put stickers on boxes and bundle items with me.
That's not fun, Mom.
And so it's just me. My mom jumps in to help, and I hired my next door neighbor who's 16 to help out. But that's the thing. I want to grow now. I'm to share a little bit. I'm, October, November, December, I was like at about 10,000, 11,000. Now my January was about 12,000 in sales, which is great. But I am eager and I'm hungry to grow, and I want to grow as fast as possible because of my why. I need this to work. This has to somehow, as quickly as possible, replace my old Manhattan salary, which is probably not going to happen all that soon. But that's the fire that's the fire that's lit under my butt to make this happen.
Yeah,
So
there's no question you'll get there. You're on a great path.
Well, I know that I know what I need to do. I know just getting to that step is really hard. It's hard to just make that leap. It's even just to have my neighbor come in and help out, even though I know that she helped me get shipments out faster, but I have a really small space to work in first, for right now. It's like we've got all these other factors. We've got to get this bed behind me out of here so I can have some more space in this work room. And maybe when that happens, it'll be a little bit more comfortable to have her come in,
well,
but I'm still.
Here's some, you've heard me say this before if you've listened to this show, but I'm going to tell you specifically, and I preach to myself every time I say what I'm about to say, but as entrepreneurs, especially once we feel like we've kind of got the tiger by the tail a little bit and we're like, okay, we're ready to go. Let's go. We overestimate what we can get done in a single day or a week even. We overestimate so dramatic. Like, okay, I'm going to get all these things. Here's my list, right? I'm going to find 40 new replens. I'm going to get this bed out of here. I'm going to get my new shipping desk built. I'm going to boom, 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 boom. I'm going to get my 12-year-old excited about replens and putting stickers on bags. Like, bam, I'm going to do all these things next week. And you end up at the end of that week kind of disappointed because you only got 2 of those things done, and you put out about 3 fires, and you had 4 more returns than you thought you'd have at Walmart or whatever you're shopping, and you just kind of feel defeated. But if you put that on a trajectory of 6 months or a year, taking tiny steps in the right direction, it's going to blow your mind. Have you charted out yet from October to January the trajectory of what you're building and sustaining that over time? Bringing in the help when you need it. Yeah, it costs you a little money, but that neighbor has enabled you to do more business. So maybe your margin drops a little bit, profits drop a little bit, but the pie just got bigger.
Yeah.
Those are business making math decisions. The trajectory that you're on, though, if you put it 6 or 9 months out, you've more. I don't even know what your salary was, but you've arguably easily replaced just about anything that you were making before 6 to 9 months from now on this trajectory path that you're on.
I hope so. Because like I said, this has to work. But I know math-wise, I know that it makes sense to hire her because she helps me get the orders out faster and allowed me to get an extra shipment out that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own. But just getting over that hump of having her come regularly is really hard. It's like, I've heard people say this before. It's your baby. It's my baby that I started with, and I can do everything, but I can't. I know that I can't. I've heard you say it 100 times. I can't grow unless I bring a team with me. But knowing exactly how to do that, I'm still feeling that out. I'm not really sure.
Well, you're green enough. That's okay. That's the period of intense focused effort. That's wearing all the hats. That's the stage you're in, right? And it doesn't last forever, because if you've got a profitable system, the next thing, the next person you need to be hiring and focusing on, get the help you need right now, but you need to get someone else out there that understands how to find profitable ASINs, how to do the research, how to go take a picture of the store shelf even, and come home and scroll through, and you pay them. Have them sign a non-compete if it makes you more comfortable. That's perfectly fine. There's plenty of people looking for reasonable hourly work, and you say, hey, I'll give you 1% of the profits. Help me build this. So imagine someone out there as good or better than you are at finding new ASINs, right?
Yeah.
And you're paying them a piece of what they're finding.
So that's something I've heard you say before. I don't know if this is in the PAC course, which I did get after the Replen standalone course. I want to mention.
Oh, you did get good. There's all kinds of good stuff in there. Yeah. Talk about not being able to sleep at night.
I did. I learned how to do bundling and all sorts of things. And, but how do I figure out how to give someone a percentage of the profits. I've heard you say that before, but I don't, how do I do that? How do just hiring someone and knowing how much to pay them. That was something that the group gave me, right? The Facebook
We
group
actually
is
have a podcast
wonderful.
episode coming up soon with one of our newest coaches, Josh, who has hired several neighbors to do exactly what we're describing. And we're actually creating a course and some new content with the specifics in it. Not that I'm trying to keep some big secret, but it would take a little bit of time to kind of go through the
Right.
details. But basically,
Right.
if they're bringing you more money than you had before, you give them a piece of it in such a way that makes sense for them and makes sense for you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a simple. Now, logistically, how do you track it? How do you know who gets credit for what? That sort of thing. Keeping who does the reports, and how do you know? What spreadsheet do you use to track all of this? That sort of thing. Getting into the dirty details of it. But if you can train someone to go out there and find more revenue for your business, rewarding them with a percentage of it is a beautiful way to grow. That's a beautiful way to grow your team. Instead of you losing revenue by hiring someone in, you're actually bringing someone in that's bringing new revenue. And it's very doable. It happened. And like I said, we're going to bring Josh in, and he's got a network of people that work from their own homes doing a very healthy 7-figure business, and everyone's kind of contributing to the same pie. It's a beautiful model.
Well, that's excellent. I look forward to that episode.
It's coming.
So I need to do that. I need to hire a shopper, because I've seen that the key to this is not just finding new replens, but the key for me and how I saw January spike a little bit, because I took the holiday replens out of the scenario, right? It's almost like November and December were a wash for me in my head. Yeah, I did great, but that wasn't the core replens model that I'm building now. Right. So January was a real true spike for me because I was feeding the beast, and I was feeding it often, and just send in as much as you can over and over and over. And then I started doing it more strategically, because I started taking my lower ROI replens out of the equation, because I realized they're not making me as much money, and it's a lot of work to bag up 3 little things that only make me 20%, and replenishing more of the 40% and up replens.
Yeah, 40% ROI or greater, or you're looking 50, 60 now is kind of being the bottom for us, because those 100% ROI items are everywhere.
Right.
And you want to have plenty of time to free to find them. Right. So you can turn $10 bills into $20 bills all day, selling an item for $30, right? And Amazon keeps their 10, and you get your money back for the item you bought, and you get an extra 10. That's a 100% ROI model. Those deals are everywhere. Change the numbers.
Yeah, they really are.
20, 40, 80 if you want. Those deals are everywhere. Well, I want to hear some specific numbers, and we do need to start to wrap the episode up. If there's any specific tips you wanted to share with anyone as well, let's get into that segment a little bit.
Sure. So specific numbers, I have to admit that the numbers part of this is not my forte. I'm still learning. I have a lot to learn about the numbers part of it.
That's quite all right.
I know that my repricer tells me that I'm at about a 27% profit margin. That doesn't factor in some of the supplies and everything, but again, it's a wash, right? And I know that the things that I'm getting now are at least 40% ROI and upwards to 300% ROI.
Right.
Let's see.
It sounds like based on the numbers you share with me, in January, you put somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 after all expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Bank. Is that about where you're estimating?
Yeah, that's where I started when I put into this business. Was about that much, and I haven't touched any personal money since.
So that's a good way to look at it too. Yeah, it's just it's self-fueling.
Yeah.
Right, and plus you have all that inventory out there that hasn't sold yet.
Exactly.
So you had that in, and you've got a beautiful cash flow business set up. But knowing your numbers is important. At some point, you will need an accountant to kind of help you through, and they can really add a lot of clarity as well. A good accountant, because you don't have to pay taxes on all this anyway. They can give you the reports to break it down. Here's what you're spending in these different areas, and
Right.
But that's the other hat. You won't have to wear it forever, but for right now, you're going to have to.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm trying to keep up with all the bookkeeping and taking pictures of my receipts and really keeping good records of everything. I track my miles with a free app called Stride. That's a big help. You know, one thing, so here's what I could tell the new sellers, because I know that when I was out there, I could not find a thing. And I thought a grocery was the only way because I knew grocery. And again, don't go to categories that you know anything about because you're going to be too influenced by your personal decisions. Most of the stuff that I sell is stuff that I would never feed my family with. I mean, not never, but usually I've discovered so many different sauces and things that exist that I never thought were possible. So don't shop in sections that you know of. But and I did get ungated in grocery early on. That helped me tremendously because I'm a mom. I know grocery. It was easy for me to shop in grocery. I felt comfortable in that section. I knew it was in home. It was in like the home goods section. I knew that it was in arts and crafts. I knew that it was in tools, but I still wasn't finding anything. So I urge new sellers to go back, like take pictures of the whole aisle and just go item by item by item, because I would get frustrated very quickly, very easily, scanning a couple of barcodes, and then I would just leave it at that and leave the aisle. But there's really so much there that I still haven't discovered yet. Yeah. When
you're taking a picture, let's pause there.
Yeah.
What are you taking a picture of? Give me a specific, like what's in the frame?
I make sure that I could see the size of the item and the price.
How many ounces, the price they're charging.
Right. You know, if I have the patience, I will turn it around and take a picture of the barcode next to the item.
And you can do several items at the same time, if possible.
Yes, I try to get in the frame, you know, at least a couple shelves in, you know, keeping in mind that when I go home and have to zoom in, I may not be able to read those ounces. So
so maybe test it in the store, make sure you can read, you know.
That's a good tip.
You can get a good 10, 12 products at a time if you flip the barcodes around and put the ounces up where you can see it and take a shot. And, you know, in most aisles of most stores. And you could do with a picture of 12 or 15 items, that could wind up being a good 2 or 3 hours of research, resulting in 20 or 30 replens.
Yes.
Even though you only started with 10 or 12 items, you found 20 or 30 because you bunny trail off of them. Right.
Yep. And that's exactly what happens to me. I go home and I research, and I want to debunk your theory of turning off the Netflix, because I have gotten so much Netflix viewing time in because I'm really good at sitting in my armchair and researching with Netflix in the background. So you don't have to turn off your...
The female is a special species. You have something guys don't have, and that's the ability to focus on more than one thing at a time. It seems like it. We're astounded by your abilities in that arena.
Thank you.
The thought of having a TV show on and actually following the plot while doing any kind of meaningful work is like asking me to jump in two directions at the same time. It's like, I can't do that.
Okay. So I definitely, but that's what happens. I bunny trail off of things. There's pictures in my arsenal of, you know, aisle pictures that I still haven't hit every item because I found so many ASINs just going on a rabbit trail going off of those items.
Sure.
So
as Jimmy teaches, so much. Scroll slowly. You're scrolling through looking, and like off the page jumps this completely unrelated product.
Yeah,
that
completely.
Like, no way that costs more than $4, and they're selling a 3-pack for $62.
Yeah,
what's going on there? And off you go, and you find this magical ASIN that has nothing to do with where you were researching, right?
Right, and then I go and I research that thing, and then I forgot where I was in the first place.
You end up with all these tabs open on top. One of which for you is Netflix. Exactly. Okay, whatever, but that's beautiful.
And and then again, there's retail stores that are dedicated to just arts and crafts. They're in all your towns. I'm sure you guys know which stores I'm talking about, you know, and they all, and so we want to buy things at regular price. But what I've found is that these stores run sales, or they have codes that you can use to save money on. So whether it's a code that you're using, their sales are cyclical. So I found a couple of replens that I bought, let's say it's a totally new item. I've never sold it before. Okay. But I want to get the free shipping and I want to maximize on that deal. So I will order 12 of that item that I've never sold before, send in 4 of them and see how it does. Most of the time, I just have to replenish it and send the next in with my next shipment. And so I've maximized on that sale. I've maximized on the free shipping. And I have stock at home of things that I can send in when that sells out.
That's a great tip.
Now,
We're
if
not
it doesn't
against
do well,
buying
I can
things on
return
sale.
it.
Yeah. We're certainly not against it. Hey, I mean, and all the fuel points that you get at different stores and all the, you look at your credit card statement is don't go into debt doing this, but if you're paying stuff with a card and paying it off, you're going to accumulate a lot of points doing this. You're churning through a lot of inventory.
And just the valued shopper points, right? Like you get vouchers from some of these stores for shopping there frequently. So this store was Michael's. Like they have a frequent customer kind of program.
Sure. Most stores do.
I get their vouchers.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like I'll get their vouchers and that voucher that I built up from spending all this money on these other products. And they take returns easily. So if the price tags, which it has on a few items, I have my receipt and I return the items. And when I go back to return them, I come back with 5 more, 6 more, 10 more replens to try again because I was in that store. Because like I said, that's one store where their sales are cyclical. So
a lot of stores
the sale will come back. Yeah.
You'll see the same thing kind of comes around on sale. And that's when you buy up, especially your good replens that you know are established. They go on sale, you clean up, you clear the shelf, right? But well, this has been a great episode. I think we packed it full of really great tips. And I love and appreciate that you're still fairly new to this, just a few months in, but you've got a profitable, viable business. It's allowing you to be home with your kids, with your spouse, and set some big goals. I can't wait to see where you are 6 to 8 months or so from now. I think you're heading in a really great direction, though. From everything I just heard, you're doing phenomenal.
Oh, thanks. It's great. It's exciting. I love this. I love being home. I love just being able to have dinner with my family, which I never thought would ever happen. It's just such a simple thing that we all sit down and have dinner together. We couldn't do that.
I love it. You know, I saw a study one time that was looking for the greatest single element of your childhood that was the strongest predictor for success on, I think the study was the SAT test or something, but I can't remember what the exact metric was, but like you look at all the high performers, high achievers, I can't remember what it was exactly they were measuring. I think it was some kind of standard test of some kind. And they were trying to say, what is it that those kids who achieved well had in common? And they did tons of research and came to the conclusion that the one factor that stood out above all the others and was easily most tied to success in academics was, did they have meals with their family or not? And everyone was scratching their head like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, to me, it kind of does. You know, that conversation, that time spent with family, you know, that's a very healthy, nurturing thing. It does make you sharper. It makes you more interested in the world. It makes you less closed in, less, you know, you're exposed to new ideas. You're forced to defend yourself in conversation over ideas you have that differ from those around you. And it's just such a healthy dynamic to have the family around the table. I love that that's a goal for you. And so few families do that now. But to have that as a family goal, that's beautiful. And that's a great gift that you're giving your friends. Yeah,
it's wonderful.
In pursuing that. It's phenomenal. So good job, Mom.
Thanks.
Well, let me talk to the listeners now, because I have a feeling that we could sit and just do this for a long time, but we need to wrap this one up. I got another call coming at me here. I'm actually 2 minutes late right now.
Okay.
But to those who hung out with us today, man, I just can't wait to see where Jackie's going to be. And I think there's a lot of, just specifically moms, but maybe a lot of dads or others, you know, it doesn't matter what your demographic is, who were inspired today by, wow, okay, she's doing this. She jumped out of an art world, professional art arena with a 3-hour commute. And now she's doing this from home. And she's finding great fulfillment in it. She's challenged by it. She's passionate about it. She's not passionate about the product she sells. She's passionate about her why. And I love that we visited that today too. So I think we've challenged some listeners today, but we loved hanging out with you. And Jackie, thank you. You were an excellent guest.
Thank you. I love
for the listeners today, you gave us some of your most valuable resource. That's your time. We sure appreciate that. We'll have another great episode for you again real soon. Talk to you then.
Great. Bye.